Hello, and welcome to Save Your Sanity. I'm Dr. Rhoberta Shaler. I'm glad that you've come to spend this time with me. If this is the first time you've been to the podcast, you are so welcome. And if you're returning, I'm glad you found value and returned. Tonight, we're going to talk about something that underlies life with a hijackal. And the topic is why hijackals create chaos and confusion. And then I want to go on and give you steps to stop the spinning and the instability. So, what do you do with this when it happens? So important to know. So, it's a big topic tonight, as usual. And if you have been enjoying the show, I welcome you to support the show by going to patreon.com/saveyoursanity. Patreon.com/saveyoursanity. Small donations there on a monthly basis help to defray the cost of the show and make it available. We're now in 92 countries, and your support really helps that. And of course, if you want to get in touch with me at any time, you find me at FOR Relationship Help, HELP.com. And that's always where you can find everything about me and get to the blog, get to the podcast, get everywhere and get as much as you can, including membership in my emerging empowered community, the emerging empowered community. It's there for you too. So let's talk about this because hijackals love to keep you spinning. And I know that's not news to you if you're joining me because you've been spinning for a while and you're wondering, is this spinning out of control? Is this spinning just to wear everything down? Why do I spin? What is it that's pushing this? Why is this happening? Why does it seem to be a merry-go-round I often can't get off? And so I want to empower you with some ideas. But first of all, let's talk about why they do it. And in that context, I want to ask you, have you ever thrown a pot? Have you ever gone to a pottery studio and thrown a pot? When you do that, you get a chunk of clay and you work the clay, and it takes forever, in my opinion, to get that clay malleable and easy to work with and soft enough to shape into something new. Sort of like the love bombing a hijackal does. They soften you up, they butter you up, get you into their hands and they knead you gently, and that's KNEAD. And so it's a similar thing when you go to create a piece of pottery at a pottery studio, because you're going to soften the clay, you're going to warm it up with your hands, you're going to shape it into the right shape to throw on the potter's wheel. And then when you throw it on the wheel, you then begin the wheel in motion. That's when the spinning starts. Very subtly, you're on board with it, seems exciting, great thing to do. We're off and running. This will be good. And you get water on your hands, and it gets a little bit messy, but it's kind of fun. It's sort of new, and you think about all the possibilities, and this is a great thing to do. And then as you begin to build the pot, as it begins to take shape, and you begin to maybe open up the inside to make a vase or something, and it begins to get bigger and bigger, you realize that with not too much effort, you can change the entire shape of the pot by gently moving just one finger and pushing the pot one way. And then you can bring it all the way back the other way. And that's where hijackals excel. They find out how to get you to that place where they can just push you with the tiniest touch of their finger, and you feel controlled. You don't like it, you don't want it, but they do it. And when that happens, you need to have a plan, because that spinning is what allows them to continuously shape the relationship. And after a while, they'll also shape you. And you don't want to become misshapen and not return to a pleasing, pleasant, and happy shape yourself, do you? If you want a whole lot of graphics to share with people that perhaps you're in a group with them on social media or whatever, and you'd like them to understand what Hijackal life is all about, I have a lot of memes for you. Go to facebook.com/hijackals with an S, Hijackals, facebook.com/hijackals. You'll see lots of graphics to share there. But one of them stands out in the context of this idea of pottery and throwing a pot. And that meme says, if you don't know what shaped you, you can't know what shape you're in. So it becomes very important to find out what the influences were in your life that made being with a hijackal acceptable. And I know it's not acceptable to you at this moment, but as you were being led to the pottery place, as you were being warmed up and kneaded into a nice soft space, you were actually being shaped. You were being groomed, and you recognize that now, and you don't like it. And it continues, doesn't it? You don't know what mood the hijackal is going to be in. You don't know what they're going to ask of you, but you know it's going to be something that you probably are not going to be too happy with. They're going to blame you for things. They're going to do all of the things that I have talked about before on other podcast episodes. So they're going to be gaslighting you or blame shifting on you or uh, past casting or putting pressure on you for things they want and you don't. They're going to be moving the markers. You just think you've got a good handle on what they want, what will make them happy, and what do they do? You do exactly what you think will make them happy. They don't want that anymore. They want something different, and they may go so far as to tell you, why did you think that would work? I don't want that. That's ridiculous. So they move the markers. They love to lie. They'll put you down. They'll discount your ideas. They'll discount your very presence as though you don't deserve to take up space and draw breath. They'll make all kinds of power moves, which certainly I've covered in many, many ways. They'll try to isolate you from family and friends, engage you in that idea of, wouldn't it be fun if we moved 500,000 miles away and started an off-grid situation? Get you isolated completely and then have power over you. They like to triangulate. They like to go through other people and tell tales on you. They'll say, well, she's not very well. It's really difficult for her. I'm kind of concerned about her mental health, but it's all right. I've got it handled. I'll be there for her. And they start telling tales. They start creating narratives that don't exist, but they do that. And then they're great in the threat department, aren't they? They want to threaten you with abandoning you. I will walk out of here. You'll never see me again. You will never get any money out of me. You'll never see your children again. So they like to threaten to create instability and chaos and confusion. They also like to threaten to hurt you or hurt your child in front of you or do some other kind of damage. They may be engaging in spiritual abuse. They may be using spiritual principles to tell you how wrong and useless and worthless you are. All these things are ways that they create this chaos and this confusion to catch you thinking, am I really hearing what I'm hearing? Are they really asking me these things? And in the meantime, they're manipulating you. So these things actually are all happening, many of them simultaneously, and they keep you completely off kilter. And the idea is to, just like that pottery wheel, is to keep you spinning so they can keep shaping you, shaping the relationship, shaping the narrative in the image that they want it to go. Not a joint effort at all in the sense of partnership. No, they want power over you. So they do these things to create and maintain that power over you. And of course, they do that nasty one that I've talked about frequently, the dreaded silent treatment. That's another way that they like to discount you and create that confusion because what am I supposed to do now? Am I supposed to beg you to talk to me? Well, yes, that's what they hope you will, so that they can say no and refuse you. They want to withhold any information or their attention from you. Again, to create that instability, to create that lack of balance, to make it all go in their direction, far away from anything that you might want. And so we get into that place where you're not sure what's happening. You don't know what is being asked of you. The narratives that are being spun have nothing to do with what you're thinking or what you want or how you remember things. And all of that is happening, as I say, simultaneously in some cases. And pretty soon you just get worn down, torn down, and put down so frequently that you are exhausted. And it's really difficult to even want to rise up and do something different, isn't it? You've probably spoken up so many times, and speaking up only ended in a fight or being abandoned or having the person give you the silent treatment or put you down. So, when all of those things are happening, what is the intention of the hijackal? Obviously, the intention, whether the hijackal is male or female, or non-binary, the intention is to keep you in chaos and confusion, because in that way the hijackal feels they have the upper hand. They are the ones directing the relationship. They are the master manipulators moving the puppets. They definitely want to do that. But what is their intention? Well, one, to keep you off balance. If they can keep you from getting into a good shape that is equitable and equal and reciprocal and mutual, then they feel that they can change the shape of their relationship at any time. So they want to keep you off balance. And then, as I said, they want to wear you down. Like, who do you think you are? I'm not interested in your opinion. If I want some music from you, I'll push the button. No, I make the decisions around here. That kind of thing to wear you down. So you may not even have a voice left, or you have learned that when you endeavor to have a voice, there's nobody listening. And not only is there nobody listening, but if they hear you speak, they immediately want to stop you. And so that will wear you down and cut you down to size quickly. And if any of these things are resonating with you, really take them to heart. Like if this is a little checklist and you're going, yep, that happens and that happens, and I feel like that, know that reach out. If you want to talk to me about these things and you're new to my work, you can use my new client opportunity at beaclient.com. Beaclient.com. And let's talk, because when you're being worn down, sometimes you hardly have the ability to reach out and say, I don't like this, I need help. But I hope you will reach out. Just go to beaclient.com, because they're going to keep you off balance and they're going to be wearing you down. And then, just like that pot, they want to start shaping your behavior. How far will you go to please me? What happens if I cut you down to size? Do you actually stay cut down, or do you rise up again? And do I have to do it again? What happens if I ignore you? What happens if I dismiss even hearing you? They're calibrating all the time. How can I shape your behavior so that it meets my need for power and control, and I don't have opposition from you? Because we all know how little hijackals like to have opposition from you that's expressed. And you certainly learn to stop expressing it when you've been with the hijackal for very long. And good for you if you haven't stopped expressing it, but you do need to know how to express that in ways that may work for you. So I'm going to talk about that a little later. So these intentions that they have for while they're engaging in these behaviors, they're endeavoring to shape your behavior, to keep you malleable, to keep you going where they want you to go, or they think they have the power to do that. And in that same thing, they want to keep you passive. They don't want you speaking up and back to them, except if when you do it, you get out of control. And remember that episode on reactive abuse? When they push your buttons so much that then you get angry and then they say, look at the abuse I have to put up with from you, right? Reactive abuse. Go and look up that podcast. You know, if you go to where you like to get podcasts, you can do a search on that. Or if you want to come over to saveyourSanityPodcast.com, you can do a search. There's a little magnifying glass there, and you can do a search on that. And that whole idea of creating passivity within you, and you'll find that at SaveYourSanityPodcast.com. So they want to make you passive. They want to shut you down. They want to have you stop talking back to them. They want to feel like they have the ultimate power. I hope you don't give it to them, but how you fight back has to be very strategic. We don't want to be fighting back. We simply want to be taking up our own space again. We'll talk about that in a minute. Another intention that they have, of course, is to have power. They need to rule the roost. They need to be the ultimate one who decides what is okay, what's not okay. And you know, the tricky thing about that, what's okay one day is not okay the next day. Have you noticed that? That's how they create that chaos. You know, I thought I'm doing exactly what you asked, just how you wanted it done. No, now that's an entirely different agenda. And that's chaotic. It creates that sense of, I have no control, which is exactly what they want. They want you to realize that you have no control and they have all the control. So they want to rule the roost so they can maintain that power at any cost. That becomes super important to them. And what are they going to use to do that? They're going to use fear and obligation and guilt. You know, I've talked about those things that Susan Forward wrote in her early book on emotional blackmail. Fog, fear, obligation, and guilt. They will use those things to manipulate you, to have power over you, to make you second guess yourself. And when you start second guessing yourself, it's not long before you're going to be questioning your sanity. Isn't that the way it happened? I was sure that's what you said. And they're telling you, no, you're off your rocker. You don't track very well. Again, getting power over you from the put down. And then by using that fear, the intention is to keep the relationship and, if possible, you unstable. Because what does a hijackal like more than to be able to go to a trusted friend, a doctor, your parents, a police officer, and say, you know, I've been having such difficulty, poor partner, poor parent, poor sibling, they're unstable, you know, they're unpredictable, they've got a problem. And so they want to create that chaos and confusion in the minds of others as well. So what can you do about all this? It becomes really important to have a plan, right? So I'm going to give you some steps to actually stop the spinning and stop the instability. First of all, you need to recognize what's going on. Recognize their power plays, recognize their ploys, recognizing all the things that I've spoken of in this episode so far. If you've been keeping that little mental checklist, you probably have quite a few checks. This is what they're doing, that uncertainty piece. I thought you said we were going at 7:00. No, I didn't say we were going today, maybe tomorrow. You probably went and put it on the calendar today, 7:00, checked with the hijackal 3 times. Then you say, well, it was today at 7. No, there's something wrong with you. Start to recognize all these ploys to create this uncertainty, this chaos. And take note of the many forms that it comes in. You know, the things that I was mentioning earlier, the gaslighting and the blame shifting and the past casting and all the things that you read about or watch on videos or I've spoken about in the episodes, all the things that are power plays for them. Just really become aware of when they're happening and how you're feeling in response to them. Catch them and try to get yourself to a neutral place at that moment. I see what they're doing. First step is just to be able to identify what they're doing. I see what they're doing. Ah, there goes the gaslighting. Oh, now they're blame shifting. I said, I think that you could do better with that. Now, all of a sudden, I should do better with everything because I'm the worst person on the planet. The blame gets shifted back to you. After a while, you may even stop trying to have a conversation with a hijackal because everything ends up being your fault anyway. I'm sure you've noticed that. So recognize the ploys. See how regularly they happen. See that they happen in patterns and cycles. Become really aware of the behaviors. And then you need to make a decision. I'm seeing all these things. Is it all right with me that the relationship runs this way? At what point did I kind of slide into this? At what point did I stop standing up for myself? At what point did I stop having a voice? And then ask yourself, is this okay with me? Now, I'm not going to suggest that you do some mighty big thing and cause a horrible ruckus unless there is physical or sexual abuse. Always then get yourself to a safe place and report it to the police and the hospital. But you need to start with small decisions. The first decision is, this is not okay with me. And then you start with small incremental steps to bring about change, small boundaries, little tiny ones, really. If you do big sweeping changes with the hijackal, they resist like crazy. But if you do small things, we begin to calibrate. How far can I push that pot back over? How much wiggle room is there? How many times do I have to do it? And then you start becoming aware of the dynamics, the inner workings of the relationship, and make a decision that, no, this is not all right with me. I'm going to do things differently. And then internally begin to affirm things silently. No, that's not the way I remember it. No, I know that I don't feel that way. And when they tell me how I feel, I know that I don't feel that way. So you start affirming things within yourself. Practice, because you may have a need to gain back that sense of self that says, no, I know what happened. My memory doesn't serve me incorrectly. I heard the words that were said. No, they're not going to take those away from me by telling me I'm wrong or blaming me. So you start to affirm yourself silently. No, I can see that you want to put me down here, and I've thought it through, and I did nothing wrong. So I'm not about apologizing. All right. Remember what I said? You're doing that silently. You don't say that out loud until you've practiced, till you have turned the corner in being able to affirm yourself. And then the next step is to affirm yourself neutrally out loud, to actually say, no, that's not the way I remembered it. No, I remember that differently. No, well, that was a good guess about how I'm feeling, but actually, if you'd like to know how I'm feeling, I'm open to being asked. And you start saying things, this is what I help my clients with. You start saying things in a way that does not poke the hijackal, because we know we don't poke hijackals to any great effect. The only effect that happens is fireworks, and that is not the effect we're looking for. So you don't want to be doing that. So we need to have these small strategies that we put in place, and every relationship is different. That's why I can't say everything will work for everybody, but your particular situation, we can talk together and find out what it is. But you have the opportunity now, once you practice silently, to start affirming things out loud. Caveat though, do it in a neutral tone, genuinely and authentically. No made up stuff, no pushback stuff, no power over stuff. Don't be like them. But be able to say just quietly, not how I remember it. Or I'm sure we did that on Thursday. Now, they can go on and tell you how crazy you are, and it was the middle of last Wednesday. It doesn't matter because you are practicing affirming that you do remember accurately, that you do have a part in this relationship that is as important as theirs, and you're functioning just fine. You want to be reminding yourself that. And then use my personal weather report. I've written about it extensively in my book, Kaizen for Couples. You can get it in hardcover or download at Amazon, Kaizen for Couples. There's 2 chapters on the personal weather report in there. Also on my YouTube channel, For Relationship Help, youtube.com/For Relationship Help. I have a video there on how to use the personal weather report. So get familiar, actually more than familiar, master the technique of using the personal weather report. So powerful, and use it everywhere, absolutely everywhere, because it is what independent people do. They're not looking to blame or shame anybody, but they are looking to tell their own truth. So use the personal weather report, knowing that you don't know what's going on in another human's mind, but you know what's going on in yours. And you have the right to speak up and give voice to that. So, as I said, go to youtube.com/For Relationship Help, put in personal weather report, Shaler, my name, Shaler, and it'll bring up that video. Maybe listen a few times, begin to master that, or get the Kaizen for Couples book and read and reread and reread chapters 6 and 7. Master the personal weather report. It will give you that sense of, I am able to express myself in powerful ways that are not designed to be conflicting or creating conflict, but I have the right to speak up powerfully. And that's what you want to be able to do, because you've probably been so pushed down, so put down, and definitely worn down, as I said, that you're like, oh, why bother? Well, nothing works. Why would I waste my time? I hope you pick yourself up from that one and say, no, now I realize that I can do something to stop the chaos and confusion. I can stop the spinning and therefore stop the instability. And I will be able to stand upright if I practice these things, upright and not toppling over, not acquiescing to the hijackal, not in their face, not poking the hijackal, not blaming them or shaming them, standing up in your own skin with the right techniques and tools and strategies. So important. And then important after the personal weather report is to get outside validation for yourself. Not in a needy way, of course not, but go and find people who do appreciate you, people who know that you know what you're talking about in any subject. Don't go running off and talk about the hijackal, but get validation. Your work may give you validation. Your volunteer work may give you validation. Your children may give you validation. Your family, some group that you belong to, some sports team that you belong to, they like you. They don't find you being and looking as the hijackal says you are. So start giving their opinion more weight. Get that outside validation. And if you don't have a lot of good outside validation, notice that you may have been isolated by the hijackal, and do what you can to make a new friend or two. So very important to get that validation that you are able to express what you think, feel, need, and want. And you have the right to do that. So you want to feel strong in that ability. And then know what you want. Many times when I ask someone, what are the results you want or your next goals in life? And they begin to list off all the things they don't want. Know what you do want. What are you moving toward? What kind of relationship would you like? How would you like to be received? How would you like to be treated? How would you demonstrate your values and have someone with you who demonstrates similar values and you feel validated? So it begins by knowing what you want. Because if you've been with a hijackal, you sure know what you don't want. But we need to flip that one so that you get into a more powerful stance of going toward what you want. Now, none of this happens instantly. You didn't get into this relationship and into this state instantly. So it takes a while. Be patient with yourself. Nanoseconds and baby steps, nanoseconds and baby steps, but know what you want, what direction you're going toward, and then work toward it consistently. Yeah, it can feel 2 steps forward and 1 step back, or 1 step forward and 2 steps back, but stay committed to it. The hijackal wants you to stay stuck in chaos and confusion, wants to keep you spinning and feeling unstable, and you are going to stand your ground, not in a confrontative way, but in a powerful, personal way. And as you begin to take that power back, bit by bit, nanoseconds of baby steps, you begin to emerge. And that's why I call my community Emerging Empowered, because it is those baby steps that allow you to emerge, whether that means you emerge from the relationship and you leave it behind, or you emerge back into a place where you're happier with yourself, you emerge into a place where you have strategies and you can set boundaries, whatever it means, but you want to be consistently moving towards something emerging empowered. If you'd like to join my community, come on over. You go to joinintoday.com. Really simple little link to remember, joinintoday.com. And you can join the Emerging Empowered community. It's very new. We have about 30 members right now, so jump in quickly because it will grow, and there are many, many benefits at a really good price there for you. So the last thing that I would encourage you to do is, if you have this feeling of being disempowered, you have this feeling of exhaustion, you're just too worn down, get help. Certainly you can always talk to me, and I'm happy to work with you. Come into the membership, get help there. In the Emerging Empowered community, it's safely on my website, but part of it works just like Facebook, so you can talk to each other, you can answer each other's questions, share your stories there. You get so many other benefits, but you can see that at joinintoday.com. And so all of these things are available to you to make this journey more able to be, you feel that you can be successful at this journey. And that's an important piece of it all. You want to feel like it's doable, absolutely doable. So get help. I hope this has helped you to have an outside voice clarifying that confusion and chaos, because hijackals are masters at creating a web of lies, a web of inconsistencies, a web of blame shifting, a web of gaslighting, and pretty soon you just kind of worn down, just worn down. All right, whatever, whatever, whatever. And that's not empowering, is it? I mean, you just don't feel empowered at that point. And I want to help you feel empowered and be emerging empowered. I'm Dr. Rhoberta Shaler. I'm so glad you spent this time with me. I hope you'll join in again, subscribe to the podcast, and then you will always know what's up. And until we speak again, take very good care of yourself, because you're precious and you matter. Talk soon. Hello, everybody. I'm happy to see you tonight. I see no comments. My goodness. There's been nobody saying anything during all of that. So, was that because you were thinking deeply? Or were you writing furiously some notes? Or were you really feeling some strong things as you heard that? Hopefully one of the strong things that you were feeling was, I could change. This could change. It could be different. Alicia says, very helpful as always. Thank you. Confusion is the principal operating factor. Isn't it just like that's what they want to do? They want to keep you constantly looking over your shoulder, wondering, "Did did that happen? Was that said?" Whatever. Um, Really important. And someone is using some, nickname for me that I don't use, so I'm not gonna read that out. But welcome to make a comment for sure. When I was a little girl, I had a nickname, and at 7 years old, I told the world that I would not answer it to anything but Rhoberta. So I had a little backbone when I was 7 years old. So, certainly happy to hear your comment. So, glad to see you here. Um, Again, this is your opportunity to ask questions about any aspect of toxic relationships. And as usual, I'll remind you that when you hit send, it takes about 20 seconds for me to be able to see it. So if I talk for 30 seconds and there are no new comments, I think we're complete for the night. So if something is sitting on your mind or your heart and you want to jump in and ask a question or make a comment, do it now so that we get the richness of your experience and the answer to your question that everybody might need to hear or want to hear or find value in hearing. So be sure to do that. Put that in there. Yes, thank you so much. The changed from calling me by a nickname to calling me Ms. Roberta. Thank you for that. I like my name, and I don't like it shortened. So that's great. But do you have a question? Is there some way that I can help you tonight? Something you'd like me to reflect on, or you'd like me to read out and bring to the group? Anything at all, make sure that it goes in the chat. You know that you can go to saveyourSanityPodcast.com and see all the episodes. There's over 220 of them. You can also go to forrelationshiphelp.com, my website, and you can see that I had a previous podcast that has over 200 episodes called Emotional Savvy. Also great value there for you. Or go to my YouTube channel. I'm very excited right now because yesterday we got a notice that on YouTube we reached 10,000 subscribers. That's a milestone on YouTube. So it was very, very exciting to know that there were 10,000 people of the over 600,000 that have viewed videos there that actually subscribed and wanted to stay in contact with me. So that was a good thing. So I'm seeing no comments at all, no questions at all. So this is kind of a going, going, gone situation. If I don't see something very quickly, I will be gone. But if you are thinking about joining the Emerging Empowered community, know that over there you get 20% off. As a member, you get 20% off on all my products. And you also get 2 group Ask Me Anything questions sessions a month that you can join in on Zoom. And you get new things every month, every few weeks that are added to you. So if you, the first month you get an ebook immediately when you join, the second month you get something else, a few weeks later you get something else. So you're always getting new things. So when you join, it starts and you get new things. So it's a very good time to join the membership. Go on over to joinintoday.com and do that. Alicia said, this really does wear me down. I just decided I won't participate in the madness anymore. I thought it was me. Well, let's all give you a round of applause for making that decision. It is madness. It is crazy making. It's designed to be crazy making. And when you see it and you say no to it, that is a moment of deep change and resolution. So I hope that you will stick with that. Why didn't I become the hijackal? I picked up some behaviors, though. Yeah, we call those fleas. You know, if you hang out with a hijackal for a while, you'll get some hijackal fleas. If you hang out with a narcissist, you'll get narcissistic fleas. What that means is that you start using their behaviors because you hope that if you play their game, they will get it, but they never do. And then you end up feeling badly about the way you're behaving, and so it's loss. So it's because why you didn't become a hijackal is because you aren't one, but you were hoping that if you use some of their strategies and let them know how it feels, that they might change, and it didn't happen, did it? It doesn't work that way, so that's why they just want to wear you down and tear you down and hope that you will just go quietly into that good night and stop putting up a fight. And then if you do that, just for the record, if you stop putting up a fight, they'll to start making you wrong for being weak, for being passive, for never having an opinion, because you know when you're with a hijackal, you can't get it right no matter what you do. You could stand on your head and spit wooden nickels for a century, and it still wouldn't be good enough. So just knowing that. Alicia said, I always knew it was off, even as a kid. Why did I keep some civility to try to care and actively change? Because you're a good person. Because you don't have the malice that a hijackal has. You didn't have the toxic shame that they experienced and they're perpetuating and putting on to other people. You're just different than they are. Your makeup is different. The way that you see the world is different. What your values are different. What you want from life is different. And that's why you want to be civil and you want to demonstrate and do you, and don't ever stop doing that. That's one of the reasons I did the podcast episode tonight is you may have stopped being you. You may have started to become just a limp version of your former self because you're exhausted. And I want to encourage you to go back to doing you. Now, with that caveat, like, don't all of a sudden rise like a phoenix and start changing in a very, very vocal and obvious way because hijackals don't like that. But if you start in small ways, some of the ways that I talked about tonight, that would happen. Mr. says, I have been struggling with being a reactionary person and absorbing person and not much of an observing person. Good insight. Due to how I grew up with my father and aunt, have any sound advice for me? Yes, first of all, yay! You recognize what you've given up, how you have morphed into being something that you obviously don't want to be. You don't want to be reactionary or absorbing. You want to become and make that shift to observing their behaviors rather than absorbing their blame and shame. So, first advice is turn that corner. Keep reminding yourself, affirm that you have the right to just sit back and observe the behavior and have your opinion about it. You don't need to be engaged in it or believe their behavior or words to be true. That's a very, very good start for making a change. You have to make these changes incrementally using Kaizen. Kaizen is a Japanese term meaning small, positive incremental changes. So we want to be doing that. Alicia said, totally stopped being me. Yes, you lose yourself, don't you? But tonight you are back on track and you are not going to be lost anymore. So this is a really good thing. Ernesto says, I came late. I got only 5 minutes, but excellent comment. I'll have to get the recording. Interesting subject. Chaos drives me nuts. Yeah, you're in good company there, Ernesto. Since my nature is disciplined, thank you as always. You're so welcome. It's important for us to be in places hearing these things so that we can see possibilities for change, possibilities for returning to some kind of balanced relationships, to be out of the toxicity. Very, very important. Mr. says, thank you very much. I appreciate you and your help. Well, you're very welcome. I'm glad you were here. I hope you'll come again. Another thing, a gift you can give your friends is to invite them to join us on Monday nights. When I publish the podcast, I take off all this part of us talking. This is a bonus just for the people who come live. It all disappears in the podcast episode. It stays on YouTube, but it disappears in the podcast episode. And this is a bonus for you being with me. So invite people to come along. They may have questions. If you know you have a lot of questions, though, come on over to joinintoday.com and ask them in the discussion forums. I'm in and out of there all the time. There are people there constantly chatting. So join in. No, no longer be isolated. There's a safe place for you that's not on social media, because it's not like social media. Y'all come, anybody. It is a community, a membership situation, and the software is running on my website. It is not your standard social media thing where everybody in the world is on it. Alicia said, "What I thought were flaws of mine are actually fleas." Very clever, very clever. Good. So let's get rid of those fleas. The good news is you can, and that's a very good thing. Oh, Alicia says she joined the group already. Yay. Yay, indeed. Glad you did. So I'll see you there. So many important things to recognize what can be changed, what can't be changed, what you can change without the approval of the hijackal, or where you don't have to ask them to change with you. You want to take back your power, your personal power, not power over anyone, but your personal power to know that you deserve to take up space, draw a breath, and you have the right to say what you think, feel, need, want, prefer, and remember, as long as you do not mention another human by name or pronoun. That's so very important. So thank you so much for joining me tonight. I'm glad you were here. I hope you'll come again. I hope you'll invite your friends so more and more people can learn about this. You can even share it out. Again, go to facebook.com/hijackals if you want those graphics to share in groups on Facebook or Instagram or wherever you like to share things, um, to help people understand all about life with hijackals. So until we speak again, you take very good care of yourself. You're precious. You matter. And I look so forward to talking with you again. Good night.